Okay, everybody, welcome to the October 25th Newburgh School District meeting. This is a work session tonight, and we've got some special guests here. So thanks you guys for coming. We'll announce you guys in just a minute, okay? So before we do, work sessions are something that happen quite often in school district board meetings. Tonight will be laid out in the following. We'll go through approval of minutes from our last meeting. And then it's exciting that we have Clara Kern, Lucia Tomaselli, Liam Decon, and Mariah Turpin here tonight for applying for student rep positions. And they're all from Newburgh High School. So thank you so much for expressing an interest in this. It's great to have you guys. Big shoes to fill. Maddie and Rowan were awesome last year. So they did such a good job. And so we'll get into that more in a little bit. We have our consent agenda. We have new hires, policy revisions, Division 22, Oregon Savings and Growth. We have reports and presentations and SIA presentation tonight. The mural at Edwards is also on there tonight. The OSEA MOU, that'll be a board action item. And then there'll be superintendent only comments tonight, no board comments. In a work session, we'll talk about how the work sessions and stuff will move forward to get us back what the board's been wanting to do for quite a while, and that is just focus on education. And so that's what the work sessions will get to that point tonight. We'll get a little bit of that, how we're going to make those work, and we'll be focusing on reading tonight. So that'll be the big one. Future agenda items, the OSEA contract language, also a little bit of information on the new website. And then our next regular scheduled board meeting is November 8th. And that will be a regular meeting, not a work session. So with that said, we are going to go to the flag salute with Director DeHart.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Trevor. So we've already reviewed the agenda. We get a motion on approval of the minutes from the 10-11 overall in your board packet.
I approve. I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the October 11th board meeting.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes. We got Renee on there. Yes, we do. Thanks, Renee. Hi, Renee. How you doing? So motion carries 6-0. You guys are already getting a little bit of a flavor. So next up is the student representatives. This started last year after a long absence. And again, we had several people apply. And so tonight we just have the two questions I shared with you earlier. And you can sit right there. You don't have to stand up and, do anything more than that. And you can take your time. You don't have to feel rushed. But the two questions are, so the audience knows too, why do you want to be a student rep? So, and whatever your words are, there's, however you express that. The second question will be, how do you feel like you can make our schools better by being a student rep, and what kind of some of your goals would be? That makes sense. So after we get through Clara, will be first. And then we'll go to Lucia, then Liam, then Mariah. And so, again, when you guys are done, I don't remember if we did this last year, but you guys are more than welcome to stay through the whole meeting. If you want to, it'll probably be done about 8:30. If you just want to watch and observe, you can. You don't have to if you don't want to. If you guys have homework or something you want to get to, you can do that also. So there's no wrong answer there. So are you guys good with those questions? Okay. If you can get closer to the mic, maybe. I think we got to turn the. Are they on there, Brian?
No, you'll have to press the on off button, but it'll be right.
Okay.
Okay, it's on.
So Clara, if you could just tell us a little bit, like maybe what grade you're in, who you are, and then you can answer that question if you mind.
Okay, well, hello. I'm Clara. I'm a junior at Newburgh High School. I did volleyball this past fall, and I've done like a few different projects outside of school, like Girl Scouts and stuff that I think could help with, like help making decisions and stuff for communities, because I did that in the past. I want to be on the school board because I want to like know what's going on and about like the decisions that's going on within the district. Like I want to know what goes into the decisions, what's the thoughts behind them and stuff like that. Like why you do the decisions that you choose. And I think I can bring to the board, like as a student representative, like what people at the high school and other areas are like saying about the school, what they want improvements on, of like being there and seeing what everyone else says via like social media or from my classes or anything like that. Like finding out what people want out of the school and stuff. So, yeah.
Good answer. Thank you very much.
Okay, so my name is Lucia Tomaselli, and I am a junior at Newburgh High School. I'm involved in a couple of different clubs. I'm in Key Club, and I'm also in Pin Pals, which is like with the wrestling team. I'm also on varsity lacrosse with Moya, and this year I'm happy to be a captain. So I want to be on the board. Mostly, I just really would like to been trying to find ways to become more involved in my community. I love my high school. I love Newburgh, and I would just want to be more like involved as much as I can, and help make decisions that I think will positively benefit the entire community, not just like obviously myself. And so I think I can bring to the schools and help the schools like by being on the board is just making decisions that I think are in, or helping like decide on things that I think are in everybody's best interest, and trying really to get a diverse group of opinions from like faculty, students, like in all different types of clubs and classes and grades, just everywhere I can to get a diverse group of opinions. And just really trying to be like a student representative for all students. Maybe not even from the high school, like from the middle schools too, just as many people as I can. That's really all I have.
Oh, great job. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Liam?
Alrighty, is the microphone on? Hopefully. Alrighty. I am excuse me. I am Liam Decken. I'm a student at Newburgh High School, just like everyone else. I am a senior. I've lived here in Newburgh for 5 years now, came from Wilsonville. Just this city, this community has really opened up its arms to us. And it's been really, really great for us. I'm the student commissioner on I'm the student commissioner on the Newburgh Historical Preservation Commission, the first ever voting student commissioner. That was really huge last year and major achievement. Why I want to be on, I guess, the school board as a student representative? Well, I mean, it's simple to say, but I do really want to represent the students' interest within this body, within this community. I want to be able to gain experience of how this city functions and what goes into the inner workings of it. And yeah, to be able to know why this board does the way it does, the reasons behind it. Further, I mean, yeah, as I said before, I just want to provide for the students' voices, the people that really for the past few years now have felt just a little disenfranchised by all this craziness and whatnot. Yeah, I feel like the largest thing that can be helped from this board and what I can bring is just a clarity and a level of communication between the school board, between ASB, between all these different bodies, between the students and this board. Really, see what happens. I'm Liam Decken, and no, yeah, I'm a member of Newburgh.
Good stuff. Thanks, Liam. You guys are doing great, Mariah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Moya Turpin. I've been in and around Newburgh for my entire life, as long as I can remember. I actually went to Edwards. So like walking in here today, it was very nostalgic and a little nerve-wracking, I will say. I think I also am on the lacrosse team with Lucia. She said I play for the varsity basketball team as well. So that's really fun to be a part of that. A reason for wanting to be on the Newburgh School Board, I think you guys kind of covered it all. But I feel like I hang out with a lot of very diverse groups of people at school. I feel like I've like evolved as I've gone through high school, and I feel like knowing the different people I've known, I've heard a lot of different opinions, maybe not about the school board, but just in and around Newburgh High School and middle schools as I've grown up through here. And I think like why I want to be on it is one, understanding the decisions you guys make. I think that would be very important. I think there are things that I've been confused on in the past, and getting to understand some of those things would be very helpful, but also to be part of some of the not decision making, but be able to have input, to have a voice for students at our school, for all different sorts of people at our school that I hang in and around, as well as faculty and other staff that may be at the school. I think I can bring to the school board involvement, but like positive engagement and involvement. I think that's like very important, especially like to be like high school students and not seeing kind of some of the positivity at Newburgh, but being able to kind of like bring it back in and show students like what it should be like, but also like to be helpful. And I believe, did you ask about like a goal or
Yes.
anything like that? Okay, so as far as like positive engagement and involvement through like sports events, like themed dress up days, and like or any event we participate in as student and staffs, I think we've had some troubles this year as it not being as positive as it could be. And I think when it's not positive like that and people think they're being like funny and cool, I think, but it's usually degrading to another group of people, and it targets a group of people. And I think we've had a lot of troubles with that this year. And I think that should be a goal, maybe not a school board goal, but just a goal in general for people to like understand that like it would be good to have positive engagement. That's really all I have.
You guys are awesome. That's good stuff. Maybe just going a little farther here. If any board members have a question, we'll have all four of you guys answer it though. So it's all the same. Is that cool? So Trev, you got a question?
Yeah, so I guess I'd like to know specifically kind of what your plans are for, I think Moira, you hit the nail on the head. How are you going to get as diverse a feedback from, your peers, your counterparts, the other students? How are you going to do that? And yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
That's a great question. My goal, or like my plan of action, I guess, is really just to ask around to make sure that I'm informing the people around me of decisions that the school board is thinking about making, and then gathering that input based on like, because I don't think a lot of people, especially like, I don't really think anybody in like that I know is very informed on like the decisions that the school board is making. They hear something from someone who heard it from someone, and words get really twisted. And so I think being a direct source of information and just gathering like unbiased opinions from everyone, and then kind of figuring out how I want to represent all of these people, that really I would just ask around, like people that I know, clubs that are like that I'm not really a part of, but have like a different group of people that might have the same group of opinions. Just really just trying my best to get a little bit from everywhere is what I say.
I mean, again, that's a great question. Some of the things that I've thought about is, well, there's a lot of bodies within Newburgh High School specifically that relate to student interest and student thoughts, like ASB. The superintendent and principals are setting up a group of 30 students right now to show the interests of students. And I think an important thing would be to kind of consolidate all these different bodies and groups that are there to represent students' interests, and to bring it together into one, I guess, unified board body, just to be able to allow us student commissioners to show the voices of other student representatives and what their thoughts are on this. And again, to further what I guess my colleague right here said, just ask around to see what other students are looking for, to see what different voices, different needs need from this school board. And well, to see how it can represent that. That's through clubs, if that's through just asking friends that I know, if that's through asking people I don't know at all, that's through asking teachers, that's through asking just faculty, whatever. just to get a diverse voice and to bring together those who want to represent students' voices and those who just want to stay anonymous and just have an idea that they just want to bring to this board. And well, those are a few of the things I'm thinking of. Hopefully they could be a bit helpful there.
Okay, so you asked like how would we get some of this information? So like as far as that goes, I think I'd like a little like background on it. I think I've really like found myself like being in classes with like a whole bunch of different people, like different groups of people, like by taking accelerated classes or taking like this year I took a sports and events marketing class, which is a freshman class. I'm a junior. And like there's I think like 30 freshmen or and in that class, and like hanging out with them, I've gotten to like learn a lot of different things about them. And so like being in, and then I'll go to my anatomy class and there's like this senior who I'm now best friends with, and I don't think I ever would have seen him being like my friend, or not like being my friend, but like associating with him as much as I do my freshman year. And so I think like by being able to have seeing those different connections in classes and like being a part of like these different groups at school, I think that's a really good way to bring in information, especially when if we do get a chance to be part of this school board, we get to know some of these things. And there are kids that I've seen that are be like, oh, did you hear this about the school board? But being able to have like light of that information and be like, well, here's some things to think about, and it's difference in opinions, and you get to bring that to the table. I think that's a really good way of collecting that information and being able to communicate with other people just by difference in classes and just something as simple as that, or people you walk next to in the hallway.
Could you restate the question so I just have it fresh in my mind after the
Yeah,
responses?
really what I was getting at, it's been a long time, but we go to Newburgh High School. Typically we gravitate towards, certain groups and stuff like that. I just think that it's important that whoever the representatives are, whether or not we just hang out with it, you really need to be reaching out to get the most diverse voice back in the student body. I think it's great that if you can clarify stuff a bit. I can't imagine that there's too many students that are watching this right. This means guys have your own mind. So kudos on you guys for finding people. So that's really kind of what I'm looking for. How are you going to reach out to more than just the group, the broadest voice?
Okay, so like my fellow people to the side of me, candidates, I guess, I think I would, talk to people in my classes and different things like that, but I'd also contact some of the clubs. Like I know that there's specific clubs, like I believe one of my friends in leadership is trying to restart the BSU, which is the Black Student Union, and GSA, the Gender and Sexuality Alliance group. They're all clubs within the school, along with like Mecca and all that. So I think contacting those groups and hearing what they want to hear about like the school board, or even like we have a weekly newsletter that we send out. And although I'm sure not a lot of students read them, I know that I read them and a few others read them. So maybe including some of the information about like that, getting the information like distributed, and then like having something open so people can like get the responses to that, or like going like around lunches and stuff and asking different groups, you've heard this about the student board and like, or I guess the board in general, and like this decision, what's your opinion on it? Is there things we need to improve? Like we've done like, what are they called? Like Google Forms. Thank you guys, of like asking questions about like, oh, who do you think should be the candidate for homecoming or anything? And people respond to them. They give their input. They talk about things that need to be changed, things that should be addressed in the school. So I think like gathering information, we could probably do that, working with like the leadership group, because I know that they do conferences at different schools and stuff like that. So if they're talking to other schools and maybe figuring out the issues with them, we can get some of that information of like, oh, this is happening at this school. What about our schools and our surrounding areas? What can we take from that and improve our school district and stuff is what I would do.
Good answers again. You guys are impressive. Board members, anybody else? Renee, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
I have just a,
Oh, go for it.
you've answered this in part, but how would you disseminate the information that you learned at the board and what goes on? And how would you react to negative comments? Like you're saying, wow, we discussed this, this and that, and someone says, oh, you're just full of it or whatever. So disseminating, and then how you would respond to negative feedback.
Okay. As far as like reacting to like negative things and maybe things you don't want to hear, like especially differences in opinions, I think for me, I found that like it's like I don't know how to explain it. When someone else tells me like a different opinion than them, I really try and look at it from their view, because we like, especially like as I've gone through high school, I've learned everyone goes through a lot of different situations, whether it's in their home life or school life or sports life too, I think. And like as an athlete, I've also had to learn how to filter things that I say back. And I think that's been something I've really taken away from sports that would help with that sort of thing about like hearing negative feedback. Because like I think Lucia could contest to this too, and Clara, that like when you're in a sports game and maybe a ref has a bad call, or someone says something to you, you can't haul off and say something else mean back to them, because it just creates a worse situation, and that's not what you want. That's not the environment you want to play in. That's not the environment you'd want to be in. Same thing at school. I think we learned this a lot from when, all those flags did get banned from schools and then brought back. When people would tell you what they thought about that, it was there. I think there was some like a little bit of like hard not to react, but I think like that was like a big thing where it was like something to learn from, where it's like you don't need to react, and it's also really great to hear other people's opinions. I think like I'm a very open person to that sort of thing. And then getting out information, you said? Yes. Okay. Google Forms was something I was thinking about, and I totally forgot to mention when that I read those newsletters too. They are great, actually. Thank you, Mark Brown, for that. But it's just like people. Oh, we just did a survey for homecoming, for a dance, for a winter dance, and a Rage in a Cage, and people being able to vote on that. But maybe like you're able to put descriptions, and like in our newsletters, you're able to like add like what this is about. Hey, please fill out this Google form if you have time. And people actually do fill them out. And I think I know a lot of people who actually read the newsletter, but we also have some amazing seniors at our school who do announcements most mornings. And so if they're able to be like, hey, this is like a main topic that the school board just talked about, that they could get information from us that we are able to talk about, if that is something we either keep quiet. I don't know how that works, but if it's something that we are allowed to like get information from student peers on and faculty, it could go out like in an announcement in the morning. It normally happens third period, and it's like, hey, this is what the school board talked about just then. If you have time and you have an opinion on this, you like it or you don't, or you like feel strongly towards it or you dislike it, hey, there's a Google form in your weekly newsletter, please fill it out. And I know those like seniors, or maybe even if any of us like, well, 3 of us will be, but if 3 of us are selected for this position, that could be something that we do, and they can hear directly from the student representatives on the school board, that you could get into those announcements.
So, alrighty, your question's based on distributing information and also taking negative criticism, just reinforcing negative feedback. Yeah. Well, I mean, sorry to jump on the bandwagon here, but I did think about the newsletter a few weeks ago, and I think that is a great option to bring this information from the school board to students, not just students, but also parents and others that are allowed to read the newsletter. I think that's a great idea. I mean, the other thing is just greater connection with faculty, teachers, the ability to connect the school board with them further, and they're able to distribute information. But yeah, also Anthony and Haley, they do a great job in the announcements. Having them, I guess they read from the newsletter, but having them being able to distribute this information, just those are all really ample options. But also, I mean, we're here, we're student representatives. We are, I guess, the part of the board that's able to represent the students, but also bring the information from the school board to the students as well. So I think we play a large part in that, and we hopefully will. To take negative criticism, I mean, last year, my lunch table, we had about 10-ish people, 9, 6, it depends. It depended upon the regulation when those lifted, but we basically just had a little mini political debate group right at our lunch table every time at lunch. So, and we had a vast range of opinions there, and especially like near the beginning when we talked about the flag issue right there, where we had people at my little table right there who supported it and people who really did not. Just, I guess what I'm saying is, well, I've kind of had experience talking about these hard topics, being able to take back criticism, being able to address criticism and harsh feedback, and just, well, I mean, yeah, it's to, I guess, catch your tongue, to not return negative with negative, but with some form of positive. And well, that really comes with experience, that comes with wisdom, and that comes through, well, I guess, practice. So, and well, I've had some of that. So, well, I guess that's me.
So like my candidates also said about like the newsletter, which I brought up, and I love the morning announcement thing. I think that's something that like everyone, they have to hear it. It's over like the whole like school is all hooked up to it. So we all know like the morning messages. We hear what they're saying. If they're bringing up like like Google form in your email, which like is sent to everyone at the school, then they're going to open it. They're going to do it if it's like something that they should be doing. It's important that they do it. We can get feedback that way, and to like address like, I don't know, like criticism and stuff, things that negative feedback, like we can like take that and learn from it, I guess. Like if there's something that like majority of the school is like, I really, really don't like this, then maybe we propose like, what's another thing that you think could be better? What's an alternative that you want? Like, if you don't like this thing, what else do you propose that we could bring to the board as a solution to this? Like, if this like thing just doesn't work for like majority of the school, if it's alienating certain groups or clubs or anything, if it's not like, if it's only like one group of people that's really wanting this and a bunch of diverse people who don't want this, then like listen to both sides, ask them, oh, is there like another alternative or another way that we could solve this issue that would make it more appealing to you and that would make sense in certain things? And then, you know, bring that of course here and then talk through that decision, be like, is this something that we could consider, or is it like dead set that this is the plan? Things like that, you know, bringing things like to the students, taking them back, bringing them here to discuss it in a way that's like, you know, getting the student input, but not like disregarding it, you know? So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so addressing how I would react to getting some like negative opinions or just things like that is mostly, I feel like negative opinions almost would be a good thing. It's showing that like as like a student representative, I would want to hear negative. I wouldn't just want to hear like, you're doing great, you're doing great. Like the criticism is amazing because that means that people are getting their voices in. I personally, like if it was like a really inflammatory topic or like a very strong opinion, I would be very happy to not only have them like say, yes, I like this, or no, I don't like this, but kind of to echo what Clara said, is to kind of open a conversation as to why and kind of deeper dive into needs and wants and things like that, which could help me as a student representative more understand like the life experiences of other people and what they need from the school, not just saying like, oh, I hate this, like I hate that idea. It's like, well, why do you hate it? What can we do to make this idea better and work for you and people that you're around? And then also, I mean, you've heard it like the newsletters, announcements, but there are other things that I think on a smaller level, because the newsletters, they go out to everybody. You get one once a week. You know, some people look at them, some people don't. But I think that sending out a special email that's not just like hidden deep in the newsletter, but sending out a specific email like, hey guys, like this is from your student representatives. This is what's going on. Like, please, if you have any things, email us, fill out this survey. Like there could be like a code or whatever. Or come find us. Like we want to hear your opinions. Another idea that I was thinking about is teacher announcements, like having like some teachers that you know maybe asking them in the beginning of a class period if they have time, like, hey, this board is talking about this. I was wondering if you could maybe tell the class about it before your class, just kind of get it out there. Because I mean, I don't really listen to the announcements that much. Like, it's kind of hard if you're trying to focus on something, it's loud. So you could miss that. But when it's a smaller group with like one person talking at you clearly in person, not over like the intercom, it's a lot easier to understand and really take time to kind of like quietly like develop an opinion. And then the last idea that I had was maybe like small little flyers or posters around the school, kind of advertising like our ideas, proposals, things of that nature, with a QR code on it. So you see the poster, you see your information. And if you have an opinion, if you want to say something, the QR code's so easy. You just get your camera out and you press on it. Takes you to like a Google form and you can fill out write what you think. Yeah, that's really what I had to say.
Those are impressive answers. Nice job, you guys. Renee, did you have anything?
No, I just thought I'd really appreciate all the students' answers to the questions. Yeah, I think they were
Jeremy?
great. Oh. Oh.
We can't hear you. Renee.
Oh, no, you can't hear me?
I think Shelley beat her to the punch on her question. Well, you guys, why are they trying to work on that? I mean, those are great answers. You know, last year we picked 2 student reps, but it was different year, different students and stuff. And so I think, I know Renee, I think she does have a question here, but I think the board will sit back. I mean, you guys, that's why I still like coaching high school people. You guys could, a lot of adults could take some cues from you guys, all of us. You guys are doing great. All those are great answers. It's so cool to think that you guys are, thinking through so many angles of the school, and you guys didn't leave anybody out there. You're kind of covering everybody. And so I really appreciate that part. A question I guess I had for you really quick. We're going a little bit long, but we're okay. I guess a real simple question is 2 of you played lacrosse together, right? So you're teammates. So I'm a coach. So I get all that. So you guys are tighter. How can you work with the other people that you aren't teammates with? I mean, if we picked, say, one person from the lacrosse team, one person not, or 3 of you or 4, whatever, how can you work together to make this group the best? That's my question. That's school. What are you going to do working with this group here? What can you guys bring as a group that'd be stronger than as an individual?
I mean, we've already kind of been doing that right now. We have been building off of each other when we're answering these questions from you guys. And I think that goes to show that we have some pretty strong ideas here. So your question is based on the idea of working together with people that we don't know fully. Well, again, that's just kind of school, and that's just kind of work. That's just kind of life. You're put together with people that are not your friends that you don't know. So while we've all had experiences in group projects or other activities like that, where we are forced to be put with people that maybe we don't even like on a personal level. So I think we all have had experience with that. I think we all have had the chance to struggle, the chance to have to pull someone's weight who hasn't been doing that, and also the chance to be on a good team that has pushed together and pushed for a common goal. So I guess what I'm saying is we have had experience doing that just through the process of being here, just through the process of being in school. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question. Hopefully.
No, it did. Liam, you're an old soul. You really are. You got some good stuff. Anybody else there?
So I honestly think that not being, well, I love Moya, but not being teammates. And I mean, the whole point of being a student representative is to represent everyone. Liam's a senior. He's in the historical board. I mean, his circle is completely different than mine. I'm in lacrosse and key club and these different things. Clara is in volleyball. Like, we're just touching so many different people, like the spread of opinions, because everyone, we all want to reach everyone, but 4 people trying to reach 3 to like the more people, the more like the different the circles are, the more like the better opinions we're going to get, the better collection of ideas. And I mean, I can just tell like from all of us 4, we're going to get along just fine. And I think that just like getting all of these separate ideas because we're all from different areas is beneficial. And I think that all of us could agree to that and want to work with each other to unite those opinions.
Well, like as my candidates have also said, like, we are getting to know each other through these meetings and stuff. Like we're hearing each other's opinions, we're feeding off each other and stuff. And I know like everyone that's sitting next to me. Like I have French class with Liam in the morning and I had health with Moya last year and I've known Lucia since like elementary school. So, it's like I know all these people. I've interacted with them within my classes and stuff. And I feel like, when you finally like have that thing like, oh yeah, me and Moya and Lucia, we all play sports. We can connect on that. We can find the middle ground. Me and Liam, we both take French class. Wow. That's something to like connect on, to be like, oh, like the little base thing to like grow out of. Like your student representative last year, Rowan, I was like best friends with her and she was very friendly and very open and very like start the conversation with someone, to be their friend, to work with them well, to like get to hear their opinions, to be in that place where it's open to share your opinion. So I guess hopefully is like doing that with them, like starting a conversation just like we would do with like students and stuff, but like starting the conversation to build those like relationships with other people and stuff. So that way we could work well together to not be like, be well and organized and all this good stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
Can you restate your question again, please?
Yeah, no, it's just like how if there was only one of you, but if there's 2, 3, or 4, like your close friends, on the board, but they kind of answer that. But how would you work together better as a group? How can you bring that individualism you have, as a group? How could you be stronger?
Do you guys all took algebra too? Yeah, probably most of you. Oh, oh, do you guys remember the difference in cubes in algebra 2? Just that weird, annoying thing. I feel like that's kind of important, like our differences, I feel like as a group. So like, I don't think me and Lucia have been friends for a while. We've played lacrosse since 3rd grade. Kind of weird. But I would say outside of lacrosse, we haven't really gotten close until maybe last year. I've actually heard, when I saw Liam walk in the door, I kind of fangirled a little bit because I've heard some great things about him in your committee. Yes, I actually have. And well, you guys are the first like student voting committee, correct? Yes, there you go. I used to play volleyball with Claire in middle school. I don't think we had health. I think that was maybe the first time in high school I ever had a class with her, and that was about it. But I do think that just like being here for this close to 40 minutes, I've connected with a lot of these people, just being around them and hearing their opinions, being able to connect with them on a deeper level, but also like have different ideas. Like Lucia was able to come up with something that we didn't think about, QR codes, for example, being able to collaborate on that deeper level and build off of each other and use each other, being able to like connect with each other by past relationships, things we've heard about other people, like great things we've heard about people. I think just like being able, like simplicity, being able to connect like that is a really good way to like connect with each other and use each other. So that's really all I have.
No, you guys have been awesome. We never did get to Renee, did we? Okay. I think it's impressive that you guys got here and you're willing to sit here and do all this. This is so impressive for high school kids who want to do this. It really is. And I think so. I'll reach out to all the board members and we'll be ready to, make phone calls and let you guys know, what's going on, move forward. But super impressive answers. I love your excitement for the school. It kind of shows the cool side of our school district, that it needs to be brought out a lot more instead of talking about all the negative stuff all the time. You guys are the bright light. So, help you look at yourselves that way. And we got to talk more about this history thing. So, but I think like tonight, if you guys, want to stay, you're more than welcome to stay. And if you guys want to leave, you can. So here's your big first test. If you leave, it's no big deal. We'll just shake your hand and say, thank you for coming. If you want to stay, you guys can all stay. One of you can stay or whatever. So here's your first test. So what would you guys like to do? You're gonna stay? Okay. You guys are here. Thanks for being here. And again, great answer. So we can chat afterwards as soon as we're done. So we're not too far behind schedule. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, on the consent agenda, get in there. So this is one we'll have to get a motion and a second on. You guys can hear a little bit. We're in a work session tonight, not a regular meeting. Really, the big difference in that mostly is there won't be public comment or board comments tonight. Only our superintendent will make a comment. That's about the biggest change. And then a few things and stuff we're going through. So the consent agenda, new hires and resignations.
Mr. Chair, a quick question order. Are we voting on the student rep tonight?
No,
Okay,
no.
thank you.
Policy revisions, Division 22, Oregon Savings and Growth. And so all that was in your packet there. If there's any questions on that, you can fire them up. Dr. Phillips, was there any, or Scott, was there anything on the policy revisions you wanted to bring up, or they were already in there?
No, I think we met in committee this past week, and so the policies coming out of the committee is what's coming forward to the board. One question I do have is when the committee does meet again, there were a handful of policies that we didn't bring forward. So a question I think I would have to the board as a collective. One question I do have is when the committee does meet again, there were.
No building is that.
Deja vu.
Would be what direction would you give the subcommittee as far as the process goes?
Good.
Would be.
Building was built in 1909, so so Brian, you're chair of that policy. I think again, you and Scott communicating on that, moving those forward. I think there were some questions for the student reps and everything. The policies are a set of guidelines, rules, laws that govern the school district. So that's on the policies. So I'll let you two work those through. I think there's more discussion on those. Dr. Phillips, you have anything on Division 22 you'd like to share on that?
It's a standard process that we go through every year. It's in regards to OAR Chapter 581, Division 22. It basically certifies that the school district is meeting all of those different standards that's we're in compliance with all those different areas in your packet. There are a few of those standards that the state has waived. And they're written in there that they've been waived. Other than that, we're responsible to comply with all those standards. So standard thing, it has to be done by November 1st of every year.
You might read just a couple of these, just kind of give people an example.
Sure.
Just like under the rule and title, for example, career education, comprehensive school counseling, required instructional time, media programs. Those would just be a few of the examples of all these. And then there's under status, which we're in compliance on these, explanation and evidence, and then, any corrective action plan if something's not met. So that's what we're doing right there. So I didn't see any that we were not. I think we were solid.
I have a question. Who decides whether we're in compliance or not?
We do.
You do. And so you have like a checklist you go through. Okay, thank you.
It's pretty tight. In the state, yeah. Okay, and then on the Oregon Savings and Growth.
It's giving permission by the board for us to offer a 457 plan to our staff through the Oregon Savings and Growth. Currently, we don't offer a 457. So it's just offering our staff that if they want to put money into a 457 account for their retirement, that we're okay with that.
Is that something that we're contributing to?
We don't contribute anything. They contribute and we take their money and put it into their account for them.
Okay.
It's very common. I'm actually a little surprised it doesn't exist here already.
Okay.
It's been in every district I've ever been in.
So good for our employees.
Yep.
Okay. Now, again, that's something that's that'll be part of the consent agenda vote. All right. Any questions on the board? Anything going on there? Okay. Entertain a motion for that consent agenda.
Yeah, I move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Renee is up. Motion passes 6-0. Okay. The next one up we have is the reports, presentations, and discussion items. The first one is the SIA presentation. I believe we have Jillian to provide that for us.
Thank you. I'll just wait for our screen to warm up here. And I do want to mention that we will be taking public comment on our SIA presentation. So after the presentation, if there's any questions on the SIA annual report, I will be happy to take any public comments or comments from the board. What is it doing? All right. So our annual report is required every year per our student investment account grant. So every year we are required to report on the prior year's funding activities. So I want to remind everyone the purpose of our SIA grant is to meet students' mental and behavioral health needs, as well as increase the academic achievement for all students, including reducing the academic disparities for traditionally underserved students. The SIA grant is funded through the Student Success Act, and 50% of that funding goes to the SIA, the Student Investment Account Grant. 20% goes to early learning and 30% goes to statewide educational initiatives at ODE. If you don't have a handout, there are some on the side over here, and I did put some in the back as well. It is a summary of the slides I have, in addition to the slides, because I know some of you can't see this, and I believe it's also in your board packet as well. So our goals for SIA grant, it's a biannual grant. So this is the second year of the grant. So these goals were developed 2 years ago. We're improving student health and safety and creating well-rounded education. Our SIA grant is just over $3.5 million. And the goal for the grant itself is to have increased mental and behavioral health supports available to support students and their safety, improved academic instruction and access to intervention. And also it creates other classroom supports as well. I have a really tiny picture of the expenditures there. These are also included in the report that was available to you and then also in your packet. The SIA grant is only funding our FTE. So this grant is used for staffing. There are no equipment or curriculum expenditures in this grant. It's all staffing. The grant funds 40.55 staff that work directly with students and 2 staff that are in administrative roles. So there's a total of 42.55 staff funded out of this grant. Many of the staff are therapists or counselors. There's the SPED behavioral health coordinator. We have a district math TOSA that's in the grant, teacher and special assignment. We have a reading TOSA that's in there, as well as our dual language and English language development TOSA. We have support for our alternative high school. We have some special education speech and language specialists in our grant, additional special educational assistants. We have our English language development specialists in the grants. as well as our reading specialists. There is some mileage for a reading teacher that's split between buildings. The federal programs coordinators in the grant, along with the bilingual help desk technician, our school resource officer, and last year we had some additional classroom support for Crater. So the real goal for this grant and where we want to see impact on our students is increased support for our students' mental and behavioral health needs. We would like to see increased student growth and achievement in the core areas of reading and math, as well as increased graduation rates. So as part of our annual report, ODS, 4 questions that are required in the report. The first one is about, did we experience any changes in behavior, actions, policies, or practices because of the funding that we've received in our SIA grant? And one of the things that we really had a giant benefit for is that direct student support. So increased instruction and capacity, particularly for the areas of reading and math. We have reading specialists in every building at the elementary level, and there are reading specialist positions at the middle level. And being able to have that direct reading intervention support to students who might be experiencing academic struggle has made a big difference in how our students are achieving academically in language arts. Also having the math TOSA and the dual language and English language development TOSAs. These folks have been able to create PD professional development that's aligned by the district, but also responsive to building needs. So really being able to work together as a district instead of a group of schools working individually has been a big change. And then that direct student supports for increased student achievement. Some of the barriers or challenges that we've experienced through the SIA grant is being able to hire highly qualified staff to fill some of the roles. So we have had some challenges in staffing, and the adjustments that we made, funding was moved from one area to another area within the SIA grant. So no changes in activities, but funding may have increased for reading specialists or English language development specialists, and might have adjusted or shifted to accommodate for our lack of ability to hire in our educational assistants, for example. So we have had some barriers there with staffing. The third question was around ongoing community engagement and what that looks like. And so our SIA plan in the past has been on a 2-year plan. And so engagement was done prior in the past, and we're asked to rate ourselves in terms of how we're engaging the community. And right now I've rated ourselves at the consult involve level. So we have public comment, we have focus groups, we have the climate and culture survey where we are engaging, but we really want to move to the collaboration level where we have that group work together. And that's going to be happening here as I transition to what comes next after this year, because this is the last year in the SIA grant fund cycle. And then the future implications would be that increased student achievement. So again, focusing the majority of the support on direct student supports, as well as professional development for the staff in the district. So as I mentioned, the SIA grant is coming to its final year and we'll start another cycle for planning. But what's changing is that in the future, the Student Success Act or the Student Investment Account is actually transitioning to an integrated guidance plan. And so there are multiple grants that are going to be rolled into one big plan. Instead of doing individual plans for each grant, they'll all have one big unified grant that are kind of working to accomplish some of the same goals. So our high school success or Measure 98 grant, the SIA grant that I've been discussing, along with our continuous improvement plan for the district, the CTE funds, and then Everyday Matters and the early indicator and intervention systems we partner with the Willamette ESD on. So these programs are all going to roll into one big plan that's going to be the next 4-year plan. So all of these grants kind of have some similar elements in creating an authentic engagement process with our community, equity-based decision-making, focusing on students who might have been historically marginalized, comprehensive needs assessment for our entire district, and then that continuous improvement plan with the hope of creating well-rounded education for our students with equity in mind and engaged community, and strengthening our systems and the capacities that we already have. So these plans, rather than making them in isolation, are really going to work together to support our students in our district. So this plan starts with the community engagement session, and you'll see some of that rolling out here in the next couple of weeks. Our community engagement is going to be focused at the school level, parent level, engaging in specific student groups, parent groups that might be at buildings. So if you're a community member and you want to get engaged with our new SIA plan, be looking for information that's coming out from your neighborhood school, in addition to any focus groups that we might have here at the district level. So after we do our community engagement, we take all of that feedback and we look at our student achievement and we create a needs assessment of what are the components that our district might be experiencing that the student investment account can support, along with the other grants that I had mentioned. And then we'll be developing a plan, which includes a program of continuing support. So it could be that reading teachers continue to be funded. It could be that maybe we learn there's other needs in the district that might potentially be funded. So creating those programs in the budget. This plan would all come together in February and be presented to the school board for approval. And then after the plan is approved by the school board in February, it's submitted to ODE in March. And this would be a 4-year plan that has a kind of a 2-year renewal cycle. So the plan's for 4 years, but every 2 years you're planning for the next 2 years. So there's a lot of grants rolled up in there, and I hope it helps us work together in a more streamlined way. So we're not doing so many different reports for different grants that are supporting some of the same areas. So that's kind of the long and short. I know I gave a lot of technical information. Are there any questions about our student investment account from either the board or the public? Are there any comments? Either.
My name is Carla Parker. I just have a very, very brief couple of thoughts because we didn't know until today that public comments would be allowed on this topic. I understand that is a requirement of the SIA. But I feel like the board should have known that and said and put that out there, last week or whenever they put out the board agenda, so that those of us who want to speak to something would have the time to speak to it. I'm a little concerned that you say that this is a 4-year plan, because if this was a 3-year plan, this was not the makeup of the board 3 years ago. So I'm a little concerned that this makeup of the board is going to entirely shift a lot of where this money is directed. I do wonder how many of those special ed or school psychs or speech pathologists or a number of different positions that has been funded, how many of those people have left because of the decisions of this board? So those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Brandon Casey. I actually have kids in the schools. And I can tell you, the difference this board has made in regards to this, just what I've seen so far has been great. I mean, we've seen a return to kids learning. We've seen a return to some form of discipline. And I think this makeup here will do a great job. And I have all the faith in the world in this makeup here. And you guys have done a great job so far. And we appreciate it in regards to this and everything else you're doing. We appreciate it. So there you go.
My name is Sasha Hill. I am a parent of a child who's on an IE plan, as well as a younger daughter over here. I am concerned about some of the initiatives that are going on in regards to this. My child was in fact impacted. We in Crater don't have a speech therapist right now, and we haven't had one since last year. I'm not so worried about my child. My child receives private speech therapy, but there's other students who have autism, ADHD, that they don't have the same opportunities that my child has. So another thing I want to point out is we cannot treat children with disabilities or who are learning English, because it's English as a second language. We can't treat them as an equal plan for everyone. It has to be individualized. So I'm hopeful that you guys think about the impact that we're having on families who constantly are looking out for support. We are not the mass, we are the minority. We as parents, we're not professionals. We don't have doctorate degrees. We don't have any medical licenses. We're learning, we're adapting, and we need your help and your time and your investment, as well as your openness to realize that that this is important to children. Thank you.
Thank you. Just quickly, so the SIA plan or the grant is wonderful. I really think it's a great thing. But when reading the application, it says that the Newburgh School Board is committed to equity and excellence. So every student will graduate with the knowledge and skills needed to be successful. It also says the district will fulfill its obligation to establish educational equity. How does the SIA plan, how is the board fulfilling their obligation to equity through this SIA plan?
So with our SIA plan, again, this plan was created 2 years back. So the board makeup could have been a bit different at that time, but this board and this plan are fulfilling parts of our support for equity in our district through the opportunities that it provides for reading interventions and language acquisition support. This district hasn't had reading intervention specialists in every elementary in a very long time. I've been in this district for over 12 years, and I can't remember the last time we had that level of support for our students that are experiencing the most struggle in acquiring their literacy skills. I know that there's always more need, but for our students that are in that bottom 20%, I can say with confidence, we have reading specialists in place at our elementaries to be able to provide those supports. And then with our students acquiring language, moving to the co-teaching model and having our English language development specialists co-teach in English language arts and provide that language development inside that core curriculum. So we're not removing students and teaching language in isolation and then hoping they come back to the classroom and can apply it. They're actually learning it in the classroom, which supports all students who might be acquiring literacy skills, not just our students who are developing language. So having that authentic experience and having all students being able to be present in class for literacy instruction and not having to go elsewhere for it has been a huge push at specifically our elementary level in terms of how students are progressing in their reading skills. And I would say so far that's been the biggest bang from our SIA grant is that student achievement coming out of our literacy. Thank you. I can't speak directly to how many students or how many teachers and staff we've lost in the past 12 months. I would have to refer that to someone else.
It's not a specific question.
Yeah.
To SIA, so,
So I can only specifically speak to our SIA grant, and we do have staff in place in most of those positions. There has been some conversation tonight about some of the areas that our staff that are highly qualified in special education have been hard to fill, and we are reaching out to other areas to get those positions filled. And I would recommend anyone that has concerns in special education to reach out to our special education director.
Piggyback on that and just ask specific to the funds for this grant with the FTE. This is great. Importance for FTE. I have two questions for that. One, how many of these positions are currently filled? Maybe you can answer that. And second of all, when we fill positions under the SIA, the individuals need to be highly qualified in their position for to be qualified to be funded by this grant. Is there
qualifications for this money to be paying FTE that are highly qualified? Thank you.
So all of our staff do need to be licensed. So our reading specialists would need to have a reading endorsement. Our English language development specialist would have to have endorsement to teach English as a second language. So all of our staff would need to be licensed in those areas to be qualified. Could you remind me of your first question?
SIA positions have been able to go within this grant cycle, and of course, and pointed towards currently when their staff in this.
So currently in our staffing, I believe there is I think there's just a half-time reading specialist that's not filled with the staffing. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I just have one more about the first time around because I don't have notes. I have a really hard time believing that equity is going to be a focus of this board. When I listened to the policy meeting last week, and more than once, it was, let's strike out the word equity and put equality. Those are not the same thing. Do you want me to define it? Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Good evening. My name is Beth Kaiser. I would like to thank you all for the hard work that you're doing, putting this all together. I think that the students are going to benefit. I think that what we all need to remember is that all schools are having shortages. All schools are having staffing issues. It's not just this school and all the garbage we've gone through. It's all schools. And I just commend you all for doing such a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
So on the grant application, it also says there'll be extensive and focused professional learning for school staff and district leadership. Are the grant funders in charge of the education for the board and the leadership within the school on that?
The grant, as it's currently written, is supporting access for students. So it's a grant to support students. It's not directed at support for the board.
So the board application, so nobody oversees and says, oh yes, you're making sure that's done.
Our SIA grant, or the application that was written several years ago, part of the role that I have is to ensure the Student Success Act or grant funds are being carried out, and the board approves the plan and the grants, and then the district carries it out.
So nobody holds anyone accountable for the actual application. That's my question. So the application, the things that are in the application, usually when you apply for a grant, there is accountability.
Yes. So there's annual reporting in addition to quarterly reporting, which I have completed for the last year. Prior to that, it was a prior district employee that is no longer here.
So I have concerns or want to know what type of education is being provided around equity, because I too listen to policy meeting and feel like there's a misunderstanding of equity and equality, and there's a commitment in this application to equity.
So the grant is to ensure equitable access or equity for students. It's not education about equity. So if we kind of go back here for the purpose and the requirements is improving student health and safety and well-rounded education. And the goal is improved academic instruction and access to intervention along with other classroom supports and increased mental and behavioral health supports. So that's how equity is showing up, is creating academic interventions and supports for our students.
So the commitment on the application, what we're rolling out in education. That's kind of what I think, because the application is very specific about the board's commitment to equity, the board's commitment to education around equity. And so it sounds like it's two different, right?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's two different things. It's equity and educational and instructional access, which we are providing through our reading interventions and our English language development support
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jillian.
So there's a question about the difference between equity and equality. I'm going to. So imagine you're at a baseball game and you can't see over the fence. So every person, the tallest, the shortest, and the middle size, they're all standing on a box that's the same height. Now, if this were me, I'm pretty short. I probably still can't see over the fence. If it's Dave, Dave's pretty tall. He can see over the fence just fine. If it's someone in between, maybe, maybe not. That's equality because they all got something equal. Equity is when they all get the different support. I'm gonna hand this to you.
Oh, I don't want it.
Well, I'm gonna.
You can sit where you want.
Yeah, you asked the question.
Why ask you to find it?
I am. In the second image, the individuals are given different supports to make it possible for them to have equal access to the game.
So what kids in this school district are given?
All right, excuse me. We're gonna stay to the focus question. If you have a question for Jillian on SIA.
He asked the
That's-
question. I was just
No, no, no.
answering his question.
After the meeting, right now, we're back to specifically SIA.
Yeah. Are you reading up here?
Oh, boy, thanks.
Question?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have a comment first. Jillian, great presentation. The way you handled all of this was spot on. Thank you for your professionalism and the work that you put into this. I guess I've got a few questions just for my own edification. What are we measuring? What's the baseline on how well we're doing, right? I guess that would be my first question. And then I guess another is, how did we decide what FTEs we needed and where they would be placed? And I guess I would just say, why the fifth grade teacher at Crater Elementary? Why that specific one?
So I believe last year there was a bubble at the Crater Elementary and they benefited from some additional support. So when I say bubble, I mean there was increased student numbers. I will acknowledge that that decision was made before I took over this particular grant, but I do understand that there was a particularly large class size. And so to support well-rounded education and that educational access, there was an additional teacher that was added for Crater last year.
Okay.
Mhm.
And
And
then my first question was, what are our metrics? What's our
Right.
baseline and how do we know that we're improving because specifically the money that we're putting into it?
Sure. So we're looking at all of our student achievement data. So in addition to those state assessments, the SBAC in English language arts and in math, we also have our assessments that we do 3 times a year. So our DIBELS assessment and lecture assessment for Spanish. We have our iReady assessment in math and iReady English language arts at the secondary level, in addition to classroom assessments, as well as our student attendance data. And the number of students who are attending. So we're looking at multiple assessment points in addition to how our students are performing on our ELPA assessment, the English language acquisition plan or assessment. It's a proficiency test that measures students how well they or how quickly they are acquiring English. So we have a number of different data points for that we're taking a look at. And I know Dr. Phillips is going to talk a little bit later about some student achievement as compared to the state, and you'll see some of that in those results.
Yeah. Board, any other questions? Very good. Jillian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you very much. Next up under reports and presentations, we have Dr. Phillips is going to speak of the mural at Edwards Elementary School.
Yeah, before I jump into that, thank you, Jillian. Thank you, Jillian. She's a good one. She's really good. So I appreciate her. The mural at Edwards, 2 weeks ago at our last board meeting, Cornerstone was here and they talked about the mural or not, right? They were gonna, they needed some direction on, do we paint it brown to kind of match the rest of the building? Do we paint it white? And so then when you're ready for a mural, you can put one up. That's basically what we need to know. They need to know, and the wall's not up yet, but they need to know, are we going to want one sooner or later? And if so, we should paint it white. If you don't ever want one, then you should paint it brown. That's the gist of it. And I have an opinion that I'd be happy to share if you want to hear it, but otherwise it's up to you.
Would love to hear your opinion.
I would like to paint it white, and then we have the option of putting on a mural down the road. And I think it would be a neat opportunity for the community to get involved. And I've got some ideas about what it could be, but I'm no artist, and so that's a little scary. But I think it'd be great. I think it'd be neat. It'd be fun. And once again, we could involve the community, some students. Yeah. And there's two of them, right? So one could maybe be Edwards specific, and then maybe one's Newburgh specific, but I think it's a good opportunity. So I would say do it.
I know, Director Powell, we still can't hear her, right, Tabitha?
That is correct, but she does have a question. Wanted to know if there's a price difference between the two. We can't hear you, Mr. Brown, either back here.
Oh, I just asked Director Powell's on Zoom. She's going to make a comment on this. She was
asking if there was a price difference between white or brown. And they told us last time, I think they said that one of them was more. I can't recall which.
I think it was the brown, because the white is essentially just primer.
But if we have to hire an artist,
I think you're right.
Oh, no, not this.
So.
if we have to hire an artist, I think
Oh, that's why we can't hear it.
So if you have to hire an artist, there's going to be more cost in the long run. That's what I was asking.
Hire an artist, there might be more cost in the long run.
Do we need to vote on this thing?
I don't think it needs a formal vote. We just need a consensus on, so I can tell Cornerstone brown or white.
All in favor of white, put your hands up.
I'm fine with allowing a space for a mural and leaving it white. I'm fine leaving the spot white so we can paint a mural.
I know the input I got from Director Powell was, being a professional artist, she's would love to have some help, help on that project. And there's a lot of talent in our community. So I think she thought that could be something that she would like to have some input on. She should nod her head no, but maybe she's not doing all the work herself. But I think a lot of students and people would love to be part of that. So I think white's the answer.
Great. I will let them know. I'll let them know. Thank you. So we're going with white for a future mural.
Next up, we have board action items for the OSEA MOU. Dr. Phillips.
Yeah, so it has been brought up a little bit today that we've struggled filling some of our positions. So we have been working with the OSEA, which is our classified union. And this MOU is between the district and the union, giving us the okay to hire through hiring firms, specifically a hiring firm by the name of Maxim. They have some employees that we can hire, and because they're employed by Maxim and not by us, their wage is a little better than what we can afford, but they don't have retirement through us and they don't have insurance through us. So in the long run, it actually comes out a little bit less expensive for us. We would prefer to hire the traditional way, but we're trying everything we can come up with. So this needs to be approved by the board that we can continue to work with Maxim to find some more employees.
So Dr. Phillips, yeah, have we used Maxim before or another like firm?
Yes. And one of the nice things about Maxim is we if we have them for 6 months and we're happy and they're happy, then we can assume them and they become ours. So once they become ours, then they would be like any other classified employee. They could be union members. They could participate in our health insurance. They could participate in retirement. And that's a nice situation to be in. A lot of these firms, there's kind of a no compete clause that you can't assume they're people. And we can with Maxim.
Do we have to pay a fee to assume them?
No.
Oh.
Just start paying them.
Okay. As far as things like discipline, things like that, how would that work with this firm?
Scott knows more about it than I do as HR, but I'm going to try to answer it. And if I'm wrong, you fix it. The nice thing about the firm is if we're not happy with somebody, we can let Maxim know and they'll take them away real quick. Fair enough. Yeah.
Thank you.
So again, just to the product of the time, just to stop gap as we still are looking for permanent employees.
Yeah, and in the MOU, the very first line, the district will continue to post all classified positions that remain unfilled. And so even though Maxim people might fill one, we're going to leave that open. So we might get a traditional employee to fill it. We want our own people, but we're struggling. So we're looking under every rock.
I just want to say I appreciate you looking under every rock because, hiring is it's not just schools, it's every industry is having trouble hiring people right now. So it's good that we're getting creative.
So is this something that we need to do a formal vote on?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, you bet. Sorry about that. I'm just asking if that's a formal vote, which it is. So I'm looking for a motion.
A motion that we I motion that we approve the hiring of Maxim or partnering with Maxim.
Approve the MOU.
I move that we approve the MOU.
Second.
Brian, did you second that? Oh, you did. Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And it passes 6-0. Thanks for checking that out there, Dr. Phillips. All right. Under a work session, it was a lot of stuff to take care of. To student reps, sometimes we get the fun, exciting, dry stuff there. But the work session is something that has been wanted for the last 3 years is to be developed into an evening where we're actually talking about education, go figure. Some of the stuff you guys said in your very comments. And so that's what we're going to touch on tonight, how work sessions could work for the board instead of talking about a lot of things that do pop up in board meetings that aren't educational. This would be opportunity to actually get in and speak about, which would be exciting for you guys moving forward. Because if you do get selected for the board, you would have an opportunity to have a voice and say stuff. So you're not just sitting there, and don't get a chance to talk. You will get a chance to speak up. So last year, Ron and Maddie, were again, tough year, they handled it really well and stuff, but they did have some great comments and stuff. So that's how it would work moving forward. So I'll get a little taste of that right now. Okay. So I'm gonna let Dr. Phillips kind of go. It's under, the superintendent comments first, but then he's going to speak of the work session format. And there's a few things we're going to talk about.
All right. Thank you. So as far as my comments go, I've got a number of things that are fairly quick. First of all, our school-based health center, it officially opened up yesterday on your campus. And from what I hear, it was fairly busy yesterday. It is an opt-in. So if you all want to be part of that, then you'd have to sign in, have your parents sign that you're good to go. So we are sending out, we will mass email the community, the families again, saying, hey, if you want to be a part of this, here are the opt-in forms. So families, be looking for those. Next thing is tomorrow night, 6:45 p.m. Our volleyball team plays first round of state playoffs. They play against St. Mary's. So that's pretty neat. So please come out, root on our girls. Once again, 6:45 tomorrow, St. Mary's. It'll be at home.
Dr. Phillips. Claire, are you part of that?
I was on the JV team, so no, but I will probably be there in support of varsity because I was cheering them on throughout the season. They're very good at playing. I will say that.
So what's our chances tomorrow night?
I think pretty good. I mean, I know some of the girls got injured throughout the season, so hopefully they're all good. But I'd say pretty good, I think.
On October 13th, Thursday, so almost 2 weeks ago, we had frankly, a big party at the high school for all of our staff. It was for all of our classified, all of our certified administrators. We used money from the OEA trust, so it was a grant, and we brought in massage therapists, and we brought in manicurists, and we brought in vitamin D shots and vitamin B shots. And we brought in food trucks and a DJ, and we just had a good time for about 4 hours trying to show our staff how much we appreciate them. And I was there for the thanks. It was a lot of fun. I was there for I think I was there for like 5 or 6 hours, and it was a good time. So yeah, so thanks to OEA Trust, and Jillian was a big help, and Rose was a big help, and Elise Yarnell was a big help putting it on. It was a lot of fun. Our student reps, you four, I don't know how you're going to figure it out, because these guys are legit. I have an idea, might be a bad one, but like we have 2 board meetings a month, so maybe 2 go to the first board meeting and 2 go to the second board meeting. Just thought. Last thing is in the vein of we're short on staff. We started a program 6 weeks ago, reaching out to high school kids that are juniors and seniors that are, I call it credit rich. You know, they've gotten good grades and they just are credit rich. They're good to go. And so we offered those students, instead of taking classes that they don't need, that they could reach down and go to our elementaries for our shortest block is 2 hours. And so they go to our elementaries for 2 hours. One of them actually goes for 5 hours a day. And then we pay them minimum wage. And so they're working with a lot of our students. And that's been really cool. Our kids love it, and our principals adore them. They think they're doing a great job, and higher than our expectations. And of course, we don't have them with the highest needs kids, but we have them with, kids that they can work with and make an impact. So that's been really fun to see that happen. And frankly, it's starting to branch out a little bit. Our food service department wants to maybe take advantage of that now too, give some food handling cards and start getting some kids into some real work experience. So I think this idea might have legs, and it'll be great. It's great for kids. It's great for us. We're happy about that. Last thing is a bit of sad news. A lot of you, I'm sure, know Denise Bacon, and she passed away. She was a friend of Newburgh. She was a friend of Newburgh Public Schools. I haven't been here very long, but she reached out to me. And in the short time I was here, she was a friend of mine. And I wish her family well, and just I'll miss her. She was a good lady and she had a great heart. So I wanted to bring up Denise. Okay, last work session format. So obviously our work session, our second board meeting is a little different than our first. One of the differences is it's typically going to be us working on things. Okay. This one was a little different because you guys were here and you took a little time. Also SIA was a little different. That took a little time, but mostly it's going to be the board, whichever one of that working on issues. So I have a couple ideas. One of which is I believe it would be beneficial for the board to hear directly from our principals in the buildings. So I think once a month, the second board meeting of the month, the work session board meeting, we have one, maybe two, but mostly just one principal come in. They have a template that they follow. It can be as simple as present to us the top 2 or 3 things that you're most proud of with your building. And it can be anything from our PTO is amazing to math scores are amazing, or, you know, whatever, just 2 or 3 things that you're the most proud of. And then one thing for sure, maybe 2, but 1 or 2 things that, what are you working on? What do you wish was better? And what are you doing about it? A real quick presentation to the board. I think it'd be good for you to see them to see you, them to present, and there can be a quick Q&A, and then we move on. So it's not a big time chunk, but I think that exposure would be good. I think the principals would appreciate it. And if they don't, they will learn to appreciate it. I'm a believer in accountability, and I think having someone come and talk about what they're up to is important. So that's one thing I would recommend that we put into a work session. Then in your packet, you should have this sheet. It should be the very, very last bit of packet. And it is our achievement data that we received from the state not so long ago. You know, I've got an extra copy. Maybe you 4 can share it. So I think talking about data is important. Now, I guess before we get started too deep down this data conversation is, well, I'll get to it later. I have a quick, so let's just start. At the very top, school name, I actually made a mistake when I drafted this. This should say Newburgh School District, Newburgh Public Schools. This isn't just specific to the high school. So first line, K2 regular attenders, 74%. What that means is that 74% of the kindergarten, first and second graders attended school regularly. What that means is they missed 10 or less days. So 26% of our littles missed more than 10 days. Now, to me, that's not real good. I want our kids here more. And I thought about it, and this is last year's data. And you remember, if you got sick last year, what did we make you do? Stay home for 5 days, 10 days, 14 days, right? That's part of this, I believe. Okay. But the state average is 65%. So it's even worse. Now our ELA scores for third grade, 52% of our third graders are meeting or exceeding the English language arts. State average is 40. 8th grade math, we're at 35%. State, 27%. On track to graduate, what that stat means is that at the end of your 9th grade year, do you have 6 or more credits? At the end of your 9th grade year, if you have 6 or more credits, you're considered on track. We had 74% of our kids that were on track. the state average was 83. So the state's average was higher than us in on-track graduation. But then you get to graduation and our graduation rate was 87%. And the state's graduation rate was 81%. This kind of trend, the rest of this sheet, and anybody in the audience, if you want one, I can print one after the meeting and hand them out. The rest of the schools follow a similar trend where our kids are in school more than the state average. Our kids are achieving better than the state average. But I have to tell you, the state average is pretty darn low. I don't want to hang my hat on beating the state average. I want to hang my hat on crushing the state average. I think we can do it. For instance, I heard some kind of ohs and woos and whoa from the audience. This one might get your attention. The juniors state average for mathematics is 20%. Only 1 out of 5 in this state meet or exceed the math benchmark. Junior. And Newburgh High is right there. Science in the high school state average is 32. And Newburgh High is right there. English language arts state average is 47. And we're right there. So our high school is basically tied with the state average. Our other buildings are better than the state average, but I've got to tell you, the state average is not glowing. It's not anything to be proud about. So I guess comes to my question for the board. I think it's extremely important to focus on student achievement. I think it's very important that we showcase that we've got a lot of smart kids. And we've got a lot of good teachers working with smart kids. And we have to prioritize state testing. I don't like the idea. I believe, as I said before, our high school, our juniors last year. So Liam, your class, juniors last year, 1 out of 5 kids, well, less than, it was 19%. So less than 1 out of 5 kids passed the math test. I think we're better than that. I know we are. Part of the problem is I don't know how to say this delicately. Part of the problem is there's some people in the system don't think these are important. And if mom and dad don't think it's important and kind of give you the opportunity to opt out and not even take it, or if mom and dad don't think it's important and say, doesn't matter, whatever. Well, kids are kids, right? They're going to go play dot to dot and they're not going to take it serious. And I think it does a disservice to our school to show 19%. We're better than that. We've got a lot of smart kids, and I want them to be proud of the fact they're smart. I want to be them proud of the fact that they go to Newburgh and show it. And so in a way, I think it's an adult problem. We as adults have to push it and believe in it, and it'll trickle down to the kids. That's me. And I work for you. So are they important?
So you said test scores are that low in several areas, but our graduation rates, according to the report cards when I worked there, would be an A. How does that work?
Yeah, our graduation rate is 6 points higher than the state average. It is very good. And it's tougher to graduate from Newburgh High because you need 26 credits than the rest of the state, which is 24. So absolutely, our graduation rate's pretty darn good. But
my question is, why is it that high when our test scores are that low?
Because I don't think we and only being here for 5 months, this is maybe a big step, but I don't know if we as a community have said this is important. This is important. So, yeah, Liam.
Yeah, sorry if we're us up here are not allowed to speak on this, but you are completely spot on when you said that students did not think these were important. Like I was literally told like I was the odd one out when I was the only one that actually kind of tried on these. I can't tell you how many students last year just said, I didn't try or I got an opt out. It was a huge thing. So I think you are really spot on when you say that we didn't consider it as important because I mean, I guess really it's just a paper for the school. It's not for the students themselves. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to reinforce that that's what I've heard and that's what I've seen. So
Yeah, I thank you, Liam. I think that's absolutely the case. I think sometimes we maybe, Newburgh's no different than a lot of places. If you had an absolutely amazing athlete, any sport, and game day came and they're like, nah, no thanks, we would all be appalled. We want them to showcase their talents on game day. Well, these tests are game day. And I want my mathletes and everybody else, I want them to show up on game day and show everybody what we're about. Winning is contagious. And if Newburgh High all of a sudden isn't 19% in mathematics because, as Liam said, maybe the adults in the system start saying, hey, this is important. I mean, I would pull you aside, Liam, and I'm just like, hey, man, I need you. Show up tomorrow. Have a good breakfast. Come on, be here. Let's go. Right. And so I just think it takes some of that and show a little school pride. That's my thoughts.
So your working theory here is not that only 1 out of every 5 students who passes through Newburgh High School learns math. It's that only 1 out of 5 bothered to try on the test.
There's probably more than 1 in 5 that tried, but yeah, I mean, yes, I think we are. Yes, I think we are much. I think our the current senior class, 1 in 5 are smart enough to meet the benchmark. No, I think it's much more than that. Yes, Liam, this is kind of what you said as well.
I guess my question would be like, really, how would you, I guess, incentivize us students to really drive on these things? I think that's a huge point here, because you're absolutely right. There are incredible people in my grade and grades below us. It's just, there's really not an effort to really try on these, on these state tests. Because I mean,
well, and
why?
Yeah, and well, I'll tell you one thing.
I'm just saying, just the mindset of a student. Why would you?
Well, one thing for me as a dad with a junior daughter, an 8th grade boy, and a little 1st grader is these tests are taken all around the country. Grades are much more arbitrary. Okay. For instance, Mr. Lindenberger and I are both math teachers. Okay. You want to take him because he's super easy and he's chill, and you don't want me because I'm hard. Right. You all deal with that. That happens all the time. It's arbitrary. Christmas time, you bring a can of soup to him and you get 5 points extra credit. That doesn't work with me. Right? These tests don't do that. These tests are what you know. I think they're important. I mean, none of you perked up when you heard 19%. None of you were proud. Okay. 3 of you are juniors. Okay. Next year, let's be talking about 75% or something like that, right? Just school pride.
Okay, so I guess as a student, I kind of have a question, like, why does it like affect our district, like money that we're getting or anything because our scores are so low? Or like, is it just like it kind of looks bad on us for it being so low?
Yeah, it does not affect our money,
Okay.
but it does make us look bad.
It does. Yeah, that's not a good number.
Yeah. And there are reports that the state will do, and they will judge a school. The better you do, the better your school's judged. And believe it or not, real estate agents, when you're going to buy a house and you want to move and you're checking out where to live and you're like, oh, Newburgh High School. Wow, they're 4 out of 5 stars. I could live there. Or Newburgh High School. Oh, they're 1 out of 5 stars. Maybe I don't want to live there. Some of this is how you get those stars.
So I guess that's a great point to emphasize how these are important to benefiting the community. But I think what this board really has, I guess, if at all possible, is to emphasize how these scores in some way benefit the students. Is it possible that these scores can be used to say an academically high achieving student could say, well, I came from a school with this score, like a really top score, something like that. Are there methods that this board can show? Are there methods that this board can do to show students how these can affect like where we go to college or any other beneficial thing like that? Because I think the incentive is really the big thing, possibly.
Yeah, there are some colleges that ask for these scores, but not very many. They like ACT and SAT and GPA. There are some schools that actually monetize meeting and exceeding. And if you go off to college, maybe if you meet and exceed math, the board will give you a $250 scholarship. And if you do the next one, there's another scholarship. And so you could walk away with $750 if you meet and exceed all 3. Now, I'm not right. There are districts that do that.
I think, just a quick one, a couple years ago, Director Shannon and I were at the OSBA state conference, and Eagle Point made a presentation with their superintendent, principals, key people. And this was in their 12th year together as a team. And they determined 12 years prior, when they were in the bottom 5 of the state of Oregon in all student academic achievements, that their number one thing they needed to work on was attendance. Now they have a different footprint than Newburgh does. It's a really large geographical footprint, but their decision as the leaders was, we got to get kids in school. We got to get them in the chairs. And so now we're 12 years later, this was 2 years ago, and they sat and looked at us with emotion. These were people running the district after 12 years. They were in the top 5 in the state of Oregon in attendance and all of their academic scores. They went out and knocked on doors to make it sure that people were getting to school, no matter what the excuse was or the trouble was or the problem was. They got students to school. And when they got students to school, their scores just kept improving. Reading, writing, arithmetic, everything kept going up, 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 until the point after 12 years, they could stand before us and say, our scores are that high, and we have more kids going to college. We have more kids getting into trade schools. We have more kids being successful post high school. And that's a lower social economic area than we are in. And it was a really cool story because it took 12 years. That's as long as you guys, like Liam, you've been at school. So that's a long period of time. And so I think that, that story stuck with me more than almost anything I've learned, is if we start now, then great things can happen for the next, generation of kids. But, it's happening right now. Right off the bat, when they made that a priority, their graduation rates went up like 15% first year, just because the kids knew it was important to everybody.
So, Mr. Chair, I guess the question is, what does an equivalent program look like? We're not knocking on doors here. How can we get kids to engage with these tests and show us their best selves on test day? What programs can we put in place that would incentivize that? Like he said.
I think that's, the thing we've gotten derailed on so much, for me, Brian, it's like, the board, so many different political issues and everything, that we get back to focusing on just education. The work sessions can give us a chance next time to do that. Just you guys already have asked some great questions tonight, just from student rep possibles. And, I think that that's one of the exciting things to be into doing here is actually get in on talking about whether it's math scores or something, like getting our attendance up. I still think our scores are way too low for our graduation rates being too high. It kind of doesn't, fit very well to me, but Dr. Phillips, you got anything to add?
Well, I think especially with 3 juniors sitting right in front of us that are going to be taking these exams shortly, I think you can help us. Liam already had a couple ideas, but you can help us. Tell us how can we incentivize, or how can you incentivize, or how can we can ask your classmates, how do we get them to try harder, take it serious?
I think a huge thing, I don't know about you guys, but last year, sitting in Algebra 2 and we're getting ready to take these tests, and we would be like, oh, are these for a grade? Are these tests graded? Does this affect our grade? That was all the questions I heard. And I think kids not knowing, if people like actually being like, no, it's not worth a grade. They don't need to participate in it. Or I think like parent involvement too, with being like, hey, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do with your life? Like, kids don't understand that some of these things like matter like that. And especially when teachers tell us it's not for a grade, it's just kind of like, you can blow it off. You don't have to try on it. And I won't lie, I think I did that my freshman year. I'll be completely honest. I think I was like, this is for a grade. Geometry teacher said, nope, just take the test, do your best. Okay, you can click through it a little bit. Then, you see something, it's really familiar. Then you're like, keep clicking. Oh, there's another one I know. But knowing that it's like not for a grade, or just like teachers just being like, try your best. I think teachers can have a big impact on helping get those scores up, as well as like parent involvement being like, hey, this stuff like actually matters.
Yep, I agree. And the Oregon Department of Education has practice exams that we can administer, so you guys have a go at it. And then good teaching says, all right, let me look at the class and let me look at these exams and say, oh, you know what? Those geometry questions, this class didn't get them very good. I must not have taught it very well. Let me cover that again, right? So you use those exams to inform your teaching. You guys beef up on that, and then you take it for the real thing. Kind of like practicing and scrimmaging, and then it's game day. Do you have some?
Kind of. I think that it was kind of what Moya said, and so I was gonna like just kind of leave it. But I think just even if it like doesn't like actually like specifically matter to the student, just saying that it does, like I do I do try on those, but that's just because like I like to. But when other people are like, oh, I'm not trying, I'm like, yeah, like why would like I get that? And so I think really just like, even if it like just kind of creating like a different like idea around it, that even if they don't necessarily like matter, just making it seem like they do, because that's like the whole thing around these tests now is literally like they don't matter, like they don't affect you at all, so just like click through them. And so just like kind of changing the reputation around them, I guess, even if it does like nothing like actually like has to change, no rewards or anything like that, just like changing like the ideas around it. I think there would be a positive impact.
Good. I also think it's healthy for all of us to do things maybe we don't want to do, that aren't super comfortable, and to push and stretch and grow. So
I would like to add on to what Lucia and Moya said, just about like the whole like math thing, and in particular, like I have Algebra 2 this year and stuff, and it's like one of those things like, oh, do this quiz, and if you don't do good on it, well then it's fine, because the next quiz is going to make up for that, and then the quiz after that, until you get to the end chapter like test for that. And like, while it's cool that, yeah, oh, if I didn't do that good, then the next test I can pick it up and I can do better. But it's also like, if I'm not learning that material very well, and it's not like, if the whole class is doing bad on it, then maybe like go over that material again. That way you're not like struggling to try and figure out how to do it on your own. Because like I had missed a few days of school this last week, and I'm still having to relearn all the stuff that I've been missing. And it's been a little bit tough. So I'm worried about the test I have tomorrow, because, if I don't know that material very well, it's not going to end up well for me, because if that test I don't do very good on, it's replacing all my other test scores that I might have done okay on that would have been like a good grade. And it's like, yes, the teachers are obviously trying to help us best they can, but I feel like, especially in my class, sometimes there's just people who don't get it. And it's up to like themselves to teach themselves how to do it, because the units are moving a bit quick, personally at least. So it's like,
Thank you.
yeah.
Let me take this last one.
So that's one thing that I think we should continue to talk about. This data can be broken down, male, female, Caucasian, Hispanic, every demographic you can imagine. It can be broken down school by school, so we can really look at and target who we want to target.
I think the last one there was the reading enrichment. Got a chance to speak to principals and some reading specialists. It's something I have a passion for. I think that, again, our reading scores are low, and they're low everywhere. Again, it's not just Newburgh. They're low everywhere. So to me, we'll probably bring it up in the next regular session meeting too, talking about this. But when I was talking to the people with boots on the ground, our teachers, our reading specialists and principals, having people come into the schools and being able, now that we're going to get back, to volunteer. So like all of us, not just you, but me, we all jump in, and an hour, 2 hours, whatever, we can come in there and help, catch kids up. If kids aren't, getting their grade level reading down by third grade, we know they're going to have issues down the road. And we know about screenology. We know that too much screen time is hurt kids actually reading, so we can help kids out. High school kids, I talked to kind of a side note there. They were excited, Dr. Phillips, about having maybe high school students come down and help on the playground where we need help. And they could, possibly get some type of credit for it or whatever, where they would come in and the little kids look at, high school kids like, NFL players. They just think, you're the best. So it doesn't have to be adults, coming down, but having some students that have, possibly early release, or a hole in their schedule where they're taking, aid at the high school where they have some time. We know that all happens. I mean, you guys are nodding already. Too many aides where they're not doing much. They can go down and be with, a playground full of kids and doing a great job. Same thing in the reading. They would love to have high school kids, but then also senior citizens, and then all of us. I guess I'm one of those seniors, Ron. So that we all would go in there and help, and they would love that help as long as it fit into that building's time frame, as long as it fit into that building's teacher needs and the administrative need, where you're not just showing up random. There's a set time that works into their schedule where we could help kids. And my thought is like this year, by the time we finish the school year, and Liam, you're off to whatever school you're going to, that we would make a big dent in it. And I think that would be exciting. So that's the thing we'll probably bring up on the next board meeting. And then that'd be the kind of stuff we'll be talking about in the next work session. So anything to add to that?
I think of adults volunteering in the schools is a huge deal. And high school kids volunteering down is a huge deal. Our kids need positive role models.
Yeah. Okay. Next thing up is future agenda items. We have the OSEA contract language that will come up in the next one. And then also the new website. I know there's been a lot of talk about that. It started quite a while back under Dr. Novotny, our intern superintendent, and getting this new website, up. And so that will be on the next business meeting, a very much updated website. And so there'll be a lot of chances for input on that. And then the next future board meeting was November 8th. I believe we're there on that one. Make sure you look at that note. The November 22nd meeting, I hope everybody gets this, has been moved to November 29th because of all the conflicts at the end of November. So again, the next board meeting is November 8th, 7 o'clock right here. And the next, the 22nd, November 22nd meeting will be moved to November 29th. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, student reps, for being here.